Hello and welcome everyone. In this video, we're going to be talking about how Ron DeSantis blew his nomination and electability chances away, basically securing his own defeat and causing Donald Trump's uprising 2024 Republican nomination victory, and basically the downfall of Ron DeSantis' campaign, and basically his poll numbers have been plummeting ever since his announcement. So in this video, we're going to be deep diving into what went wrong in Ron DeSantis' announcement and what he can learn from in the future if he decides to run in 2028, because as of right now it looks like he's not going to be the nominee. It's pretty clear. And so we're going to be seeing what went wrong and what he can learn from if he does decide to run in the future, because his announcement was not the best. And so we're going to be taking a look at the poll numbers and seeing, based off of those poll numbers, why those poll numbers goes to show you that Ron DeSantis made a huge mistake with his announcement when he first launched his campaign. So let's look at Ron DeSantis' favorability rating. As of July, he is unfavorable by a majority of Americans. Keep in mind, this is not Floridians, this is Americans. He is unfavorable by around 9%. Keep in mind, this is not Floridians. And back in January, Ron DeSantis was favorable by most Americans. He had a favorability rating of 3%. He was in the positives back in January. And that was before he had announced. And after he announced, he has been plummeting significantly ever since he announced his run for president in 2024. He is in the water by 9.7%. Excuse me, this is not 9%. This is almost 10% underwater in the negatives by majority of Americans. And this goes to show you that ever since he has announced, it has not been looking good for him. And by the way, him back in January being favorable by 3.3%, if this was based off of Floridians, it would be way higher. He is way more approved of by Floridians. That's the reason why he won by double digits, nearly 20% in the governor's race. Don't get me wrong, he was very successful in there. But the area which hurt him was his announcement for presidential run. He is very good at campaigning for governor, but he is not good at campaigning for presidential runs. And you take a look at who's ahead in the polls for the Republican primaries. As of right now, July 5th, 52% support for Trump. DeSantis is at 23%. This was way higher for DeSantis back in October. Take a look at January. 43 to 42% for Donald Trump, and DeSantis was around 40%. So Donald Trump back in January only was leading DeSantis by 5 points. 5 points for Trump in January. Take a look at now. 30 points for Trump. Trump is up by 30 points on top of DeSantis. Currently, you take a look at back in January, Trump was only up by 5 points. Now he's up by 30 points. Donald Trump, support for Trump has been increasing. Support for DeSantis has been decreasing. And keep in mind, this is 95% of polls projected to fall in this range. So these polls and numbers that I am showing you right here are very accurate. 95% tend to fall in these ranges. So the main problem for DeSantis is the time he had announced. The timing of his campaign announcement is the main problem here. He should have announced back when he was more favorable. He should have announced back when he was more popular and back when his ratings were more higher. He should have announced when his polls were way higher, close to Donald Trump's. Back in October, November, December, even in January, that's when he should have announced. He announced, I believe, in May. He announced at the wrong time. He announced at the same time as his poll numbers were decreasing. He should have announced when his poll numbers were increasing back in October, back in November, December, January. That's the time he should have announced, in the fall and the winter time. He announced at the wrong time, and that's where it's going to cost him, and it is costing him. He announced his campaign when his poll numbers were falling. That is the biggest mistake he has done in this campaign. He should have announced this campaign when his poll numbers were rising, and he did the opposite. He basically blew away his chances at winning the nomination, and he blew away his electability chances as well. Basically, securing his own defeat is what I'm trying to say, and it's causing Donald Trump's uprising nomination. And you can take a look at some of the other candidates. Vivek Ramaswamy is rising as well. 4%, still not going to do anything. But keep in mind, don't get me wrong, Ron DeSantis is still the only candidate that will come close to Donald Trump. I mean, he is trailing Trump by 30, but take a look at Pence, trailing Trump by way more than that. And same with Nikki Haley, and same with these other people. Chris Christie, don't get me wrong, don't even get me started, actually. He's at 2%. So keep in mind, the truth is Ron DeSantis is the only person that is competitive, or at least keeping it somewhat competitive, when it comes to trying to take away Trump support from Trump. Ron DeSantis is the only person that can do that, and he was the person that people said that can actually beat Donald Trump in these primaries. And if you really rely on Ron DeSantis to actually be competitive with Donald Trump, it's not working out as of right now. And it's most likely not going to work out going into these primaries. I think the only thing that can save Ron DeSantis is the debates in August. That's the only thing that can help Ron DeSantis' numbers to rise, is the debates. That's the only thing he can rely on, because as of right now, he is not going to get better. His numbers are not going to rise. They are going to keep falling as they have been ever since he has announced. So the only thing that can save his numbers from falling is the debates. Maybe more people like him, because as more people get to know Ron DeSantis, he loses support. As more people get to know Ron DeSantis, Trump gets more support. And that's not going to help him win moving forward, and it's just not going to help him in the general election as well. And so basically, securing his own defeat is what's going to happen here. So that's pretty much it in this video. Let me know if you guys agree with me that Ron DeSantis is basically securing his own defeat. And before I close out this video, I just want to say one thing. Another thing that hurt him was how he announced his campaign. Not only the timing was awful. The timing of his campaign launch was also the biggest thing that is going to hurt him in the nomination. But another thing is that how he announced his campaign. He launched on Twitter, and it didn't work out. It just didn't work out, and it was a complete and utter disaster. And he's not going to get a lot of independent support. If he were to ever be the nominee, maybe in 2028 for the Republican Party, he is not going to get a lot of the independent support, because his campaign launch has been a failure. And compare his campaign to Donald Trump's campaign. Donald Trump's campaign is 10 times better than Ron DeSantis' campaign. Take a look at Ron DeSantis' website. It looks like it has been made within 5 minutes. It looks like it has been rushed. And compare Trump's website to DeSantis' website, you can tell the difference that Ron DeSantis' campaign, his website, his campaign is general, how he launched his campaign, the timing he launched his campaign, it goes to show you that he was not prepared to announce his campaign. He should have announced when his poll numbers were rising. Instead, he announced his campaign when his poll numbers were falling, and that's obviously not going to help him in this nomination, and it hurts his electability going into the general election if he were to ever get there. So that's pretty much it. Let me know if you agree with me in the comment section down below, and also don't forget to subscribe as well.